Okay, with that lovely music bringing us in, we'll go ahead and get our meeting started. Welcome, everybody. Looks like there's 22 attendants. Thank you all for making some time out of your evening. My name's Oscar Sida. I'm the program coordinator for the Human Services Program, and my colleague, Professor Gerardo Wence-Munoz, our new faculty member. Welcome. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about who we are, and then we'll get into some information on advising for those of you that are in our associates program and declared majors. So you all know me, hopefully. I'm the program coordinator. I'm also a licensed clinical professional counselor, a licensed clinical alcohol and drug counselor, certified problem gambling counselor, national certified counselor, approved counselor supervisor, and licensed alcohol and drug counselor supervisor. So I have a lot of titles. It took me a long time to get there. Suffice to say, I have a lot of experience in counseling, supervision, mental health treatment, and my privilege to be your faculty at Great Basin College. With that, I'll turn it over to Professor Wence-Munoz.
Thank you, Oscar. Good evening, everyone. I'm Gerardo Wence-Munoz. I'm a clinical professional counselor and now currently part of the faculty members in the Human Services Department. I'm extremely excited. I have worked in the field for a few years now. I am actually a school counselor as well, nationally recognized, and it is my pleasure and privilege to be now working with all of you who are working towards joining us in the human services field. So welcome, everyone. Thank you, Oscar.
As an aside, Professor Munoz is finishing up his PhD, and he's what's known as ABD, all but dissertation. So he's got about a year, maybe a year and a half left of research and to be granted his PhD. So that's exciting for us and for him, I'm sure.
Thank you, Oscar. That is correct. Thank you.
We talk about that a lot. So, we're today, the open advising is an opportunity for the students to come together to meet the faculty, ask questions about the program that you might be confused about. There's a question from V. Nordstrom about the if their mic is muted. So as you guys are attendees, your mic can't be activated unless I allow you to talk. So if you want to talk, you can raise your hand. There's a little button to raise your hand and I can let you talk. Or we can just use the chat window, which is usually easier.
And I will be paying attention to the chat box. If you have any questions, I will be making note and just bringing it up to Oscar or to me. So I'm paying attention to that, so feel very comfortable in typing there.
Yeah, that's a good place for us to get feedback and answer questions, things like that. So the Human Service Program isn't like most associate degree programs. It has a practicum component. And practicum means that you will be practicing, that's why it's called practicum, the human services skills, education, and training in the field at a human services agency, organization, or it could be a business that services human services, like a hospital. That could be considered. And some of those are private, some of those are nonprofit. So what practicum means is that you'll serve 150 hours each semester over 2 semesters, so 300 hours total at a practicum site. You'll solicit the site to work there. You'll basically apply, do an interview, and then let them know when you're ready to start if they accept you. So that's one of the reasons advising is so important in human services, because sometimes it can be a little confusing how to get into that. Now we have a practicum orientation. And for those of you that are first semester human services associate majors or human service certificate majors, you will have your practicum in second semester. So you're in first semester, and the way the course lays out, you start second semester with practicum 1. So let's just take a really quick look at that. So this is the Associates in Human Services program. This is our program brochure. This is the suggested course sequence, fall semester 1. Most of you probably are in CPD 116, HMS 102, and 101. I know most of you will be in at least one of those because Gerardo and I teach those classes respectively. And then in second semester, you'll take ethics concurrently with practicum 1. So what you'll want to be doing this semester is thinking about where you're going to do your practicum site at. We will have a practicum orientation. That is on November 4th at 5:30 to 7, and we'll be sending out links to that. So make sure you come to that, and we'll cover all the specifics of what practicum is. And like I said, there's a lot to it. Gerardo and I did practicums in our master's programs. I didn't have any kind of practicum in my associate's program. Of course, it was a different field. And in my psychology of arts degree, I had no practicum also. I did not get clinical experience until I was well into my master's program. Second semester master's program.
And I think it's very important to emphasize, Oscar, the fact that this is what makes our program special. Because you are being exposed almost immediately to the field, so that you can get knowledge of whether you like to be in that particular area or in a different area. So I think that's a very distinctive signature for Great Basin College, this ability to expose you almost immediately to the field.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Most programs are what we call arts programs, associates of arts or associates of science. And ours is associates of applied science. That means we don't spend time, kind of get into the weeds, so to say, into the philosophical basis of the theories. We present the theories that are in use right now, kind of in vogue, so to say, and that are being applied from the evidence-based research as best practices. And then you just go running from there. So it seems, like a lot, but this is the same experience that all of our health sciences programs have. Nursing, radiology, paramedics, they get the base knowledge and then they're in it. Now, if you decide, maybe clinical work's not for me, but I'd like to be running programs or developing programs for human services. Let's say I wanted to develop an outreach program for youth. We do provide classes in the associate's degree that give you the opportunity to exercise in those skills and gain that knowledge. And that's in the human services seminar. That'll be in fourth semester. And that's $250. One thing to keep in mind, it's really important, is that you keep track of which semester you're in and which classes are offered in which semester. Now, let's say I'm going to pick on Giselle because she made a comment and I saw her name. She was asking if Gerardo speaks Spanish. Gerardo speaks better Spanish than me. So, and he speaks better English than me too, unfortunately. So let's say Giselle's like, well, I don't know if I want to take practicum right away, and maybe I'll wait until the semester after that. Well, guess what happens? If she doesn't take 205 in spring, now she has to wait till next spring. She can't take it in the fall because we don't offer 205 in the fall. We offer 205 and then 206. Then she needs to take 250 in the spring, and she might not have room in it for her schedule. So this can delay graduation for up to a year for a 2-year program. This is not good. This is very problematic. So it's important when you're planning your course schedule, you stay on track. And if you have an issue, let us know so if we can help keep you on track. This is another reason it's important for you guys to come to an advising. Now, if you can't come to advising, the open advising, we're going to video record this. It's going to be on YouTube, and you can your peers can watch this later. If you came tonight, this is it. You can always watch the link too. So let me get back to my presentation here. Hopefully I've covered that, but I'll take a quick pause to see if there's any questions after my explanation of some of the things we were talking about today. Okay. So maybe we could hear from the attendees, you guys, um, some of the reasons you wanted to be in human services. What's this degree going to offer you, or what do you think it's going to offer you? And you can type those in the chat window so we can all participate.
Let me share very quickly, Oscar. At least my experience, so the you guys who are listening can begin thinking about why the human services field. Our field is growing immensely, and it's going to continue needing more people working in the social human service in the human service field. And the human service field is very broad in terms of everything that you can do. So you can be working in a school, you can be working in assistant facilities, you can be working in hospitals, you can be working in clinics, you can work actually in your own private practice if you advance your studies. But very important, I see the future of human services growing exponentially, just because of everything that is happening nowadays and the absolute need for many people to obtain support. So it's needed. It's a field that is growing, and the outlook is just amazing and fantastic. So think about it when you are actually, either doubting or saying, well, I don't know if I want to do this or not. It's a great opportunity for our field. It's a great opportunity of growing, and it is multifaceted, meaning that you don't have to be doing only one thing, but you can do philanthropical work, you can do outreach, and you can do case management, you can do counseling if you decided to advance your studies, you can do school work with kids. Whatever you can think of, this is the first step that will allow you to actually be qualified in certain ways to work in the field and the different ramifications of that field.
So just to answer a couple questions, April asked, does GB set up the experience exposure at local businesses? No. In practicum orientation, I will give you instructions on how to set up your practicum. We have a list of sites we're affiliated with, but let's say April lives in Colorado because it's an online program. So we have people all over the country in our program. I wouldn't be able to set that up because, well, first of all, I'm in Southern Nevada. Most of the students are in Northern Nevada. And then we have a number of out-of-state students. So you can pick an organization that's in your locale, and as long as they're willing to sign the affiliation agreement, they can be affiliated with GBC. That's kind of the legal stuff that insures you and everything else and sets up the practicum experience for you. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I will provide some support information and material so you can get started. But make sure you come to the field experience orientation so you're more prepared, and I'll have more information then. I had another question about 150 hours per semester. What Jesse's asking, will there be option for evening hours? When you set up your practicum experience, let the site know that you have how many hours you're available. It works out to about 10 to 12 hours a week, okay, over a 16-week semester. So you can fit in the time. It's not too difficult. But sometimes it's difficult if you have family or you've got a full-time job, so you can figure that out. There are exceptions too, Jesse. So if you have questions about that specifically, talk to me and we can find a solution to your problem. Every problem has a solution. We just have to be creative about it. And I'm very flexible because I want to see you guys graduate on time, and also have a good experience where you're not, discouraged by the experience. I want you to be it to be something that you're grateful to have had gone through. And that's really why we provide practicum. Ashlyn says, I'm trying to figure out my major, but still this field is interesting to me. Great. As you're taking the coursework, see if something piques your interest. If you're not a declared major in our program, then this course schedule and program doesn't apply to you, but it will if you become a major. Bernice, go ahead, Gerardo. You can read
about practicum in person. Very likely, in a normal situation, that will be the case. But I believe in this point, it's virtual. Is that correct, Oscar?
I didn't hear the question.
The question is, are all practicums in person?
Yes, they are. If there's an agency that provides virtual experience, I'd be open to that. Most of the time, they're all in person live. So right now, even though in the midst of COVID, all of our sites, because they're essential workers, are still open and serving clients. So if you have a need for that, or if there's an interest, let's say you work for a like National Suicide Hotline, and you want to do your practicum there, that would be something that would meet the requirements of a human services site, and you would still be able to get the requisite experience to complete the coursework and learn the skills necessary to graduate.
So
So
Emily is asking, does the social work program have to do 150 hours? I am sure about that one.
yeah, the social work program I'm not familiar with. Laura Debenham is the program coordinator. You could give her a call or email her. This is a human services, so I know everything about human services. I don't know too much about social work. I know they do have, I think they have practical experience too, but I'm not sure when that happens. There's a lot of questions. I feel like I'm running behind.
Rachel is asking, what exactly do you have to do to get those hours?
Right. So basically, one way, a simple way to say is that you're working as a volunteer at this agency. So one example, we have Kim. She's in our bachelor's program. I know her pretty well, so she wouldn't mind me talking about her. And she does her practicum experience in Las Vegas because it's convenient for her. And she's an online student, obviously. And she does her practicum work at Opportunity Village, which is they kind of provide a lot of different services, but one of the things they focus on is supporting folks with intellectual disabilities. So she works in a department there where they give her a certain amount of tasks. She has a supervisor that monitors her. So she might shadow them, watch what they do. They might be teaching classes. She might take over a group. Anything that supports the mission of the agency. So it's really important that you pick a site that you like, something that you're interested in, and it's something that, so maybe your passion is substance abuse counseling. Maybe your passion is homeless youth. Maybe you want to work at a women's shelter. Maybe you want to work with incarcerated youth, and so you work at one of the youth prison centers or state correctional facilities. There's so many opportunities, and I've seen people work in just about everything. I've seen people working at the courts, working at high schools, middle schools, hospitals, clinics, all kinds of agencies. There's so many opportunities. You just have to kind of be open to it and kind of lean into this experience, because it's just a little intimidating. But we give you some base level information and training and education to prepare you. But this is where the rubber meets the road. So you start to be able to put those things together. The nice thing about practicum is it has one textbook for both courses. So it's a 26 chapter textbook. So the first 16 weeks you use in practicum 1, and the last something like 14 chapters you'll use in practicum 2, and has a nice kind of curve to the information and everything. So
the question, do you have to get your practicum hours for the substance abuse counselor certificate?
No, that's only in human service certificate and the associates in human services. I'm really excited to get so many questions. I just hope I don't miss any.
There is another one. Do you have to get your certificate before doing practicum?
No, you could. It depends it depends what course of study you've decided to choose. If you're in the certificate program, then you'll follow that course sequence. If you're in the associates, you'll follow that course sequence.
And looks like those were the questions. Yep.
So I hear a lot of folks wanting to become counselors. Both Gerardo and I are licensed counselors. So this is a big endeavor. It's a tremendous field. You have a lot of flexibility. Both Gerardo and I have private practices aside from our teaching duties at Great Basin College. And that is a really great, I love staying in the field as a therapist, because I'm not just an academic. And so I still practice my trade and my profession, and that's very important to me. So I would say that human services is a really good track. And I would say even better in some ways than psychology, because psychology is more geared towards becoming a psychologist is more of a scientist that does some counseling. And maybe some of my psychology peers would disagree with me, but those programs, it's like, so I say a licensed psychologist is a very different in terms of training, and it's more focused to a large degree. They do train you how to be a counselor and a therapist, but they do focus a lot on scientific research and developing research and being a scientist, I would say in some ways first.
There is a question, are there prerequisites to the practicum? Or,
Yeah, 101 and 102. So you got to take HMS 101, 102. You can take HMS 200 concurrently. When you're ready to take practicum, you're going to email the department admin, which is Winnie, and ask for permission. I will check your credits to make sure you've met the prerequisites and you have a plan in place and that you've come to practicum orientation. Because if you haven't come to practicum orientation, I can't let you into 205. The good thing is I record it, I put it up on YouTube, and you can watch it. So if you call me and you say, hey, Oscar, I want to start my practicum in the spring. I have a site picked out that's in my locale where I live. And I'll say, did you come to practicum orientation? No, I got a late start and I didn't go. I'll say, okay, go to the YouTube, watch the orientation, email me any questions, and then after that, I will put you in, I will give you permission to enroll in practicum. So it's a little bit complicated. It's because we have to make sure you have, when these sites, when they affiliate, their expectation is that you have, some basic knowledge of working with people. And that's HMS 101, 102, Introduction to Human Services and counseling skills. So that's really important.
Now, there is a question I think is very interesting. It says, if I were to go into other areas of counseling, will doing so require similar coursework to the substance abuse counseling certificate? It depends on the counseling area that you want to go into. And remember that we offer the certificate in substance abuse counseling, but there's always more requirement if you want to advance and do more work on that area. So it just depends on the counseling area that you want to work on. So you may be required to take more courses in substance abuse, similar to the one you are getting right now. So, and I think it's one of the specialties and nice things of Great Basin programs, especially the human service one. It is actually exposing you from the beginning to what you can actually foresee taking in a master's degree or even in a PhD level. So that's related to what Oscar was saying. At times, it's even better than the psychology program because it begins to actually exposing you to what you will see in the future.
Yeah, right away.
Mm-hmm.
So another question Emily had, do human service and social workers have different classes? Social work students, their major has similar courses, but so you might be taking a human services course, but fulfilling a social work requirement. But there is a different program of study, so make sure you're following that. Giselle asks us, as a licensed counselor, can you specialize in a specific area like trauma? Go ahead and answer that one, Gerardo.
Giselle, absolutely. Once you become a licensed counselor, there are, an infinite number of specialties that you can specialize yourself into. You just need to get certified, meaning trained to utilize that specific technique. And yes, you can just continue adding more specialties to your already degree and license. So for a shorter explanation, you will need the basis, which will be your license as a counselor. And then you can add all those areas that you may be interested on. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so another question about substance abuse counseling. So it's important to know that after you get the associates in human services, you're able to apply for what's called a CADC intern license. That's a certified alcohol and drug counselor intern. This is somebody who works in the field, gets paid to work there. You might work at, let's say, what's an example of a place that hires those folks? I can't think of an agency right now, but there are a lot of them. So now what'll happen is that you work and you have all the privileges of serving as a substance abuse counselor, but you are supervised by somebody like me. I have a substance abuse counseling license, supervisor license. And so you'll work under my supervision at the job site. I'll sign off on your paperwork. I'll staff cases with you to make sure you're on the right track. I'll mentor you. I'll give you information, additional training, resources to help develop you as a substance abuse counselor. Now, you cannot become fully licensed in the state of Nevada until you have a bachelor's degree, but you can start working after you get your associates. So you have to earn 4,000 hours of supervised practice. This is what in the medical field they would call residency. A couple of years after you graduate from medical school, you're under the supervising physician. And so this is a very similar process in our helping field. So, but once you have your bachelor's, and if you get the bachelor's from Great Basin College, the classes that you take, the way I designed it, that 4,000 hours drops down to 1,500 hours, because the Board of Examiners for Drug and Alcohol Counseling says, if you've taken these classes, we know that you're well trained enough that you don't need 4,000 hours of supervised practice. You only need 1,500. And that's why I developed the bachelor's program in human services with an emphasis in substance abuse counseling, because we need more. We need to fill the pipeline. We've got a lot of folks retiring. If you look at substance abuse counselors, and you look at the population, they're aging out. We also need to keep young people interested and engaged in this profession so we can treat the folks that need to. We know it's a big problem all throughout Nevada. It doesn't matter if you live in Jackpot or if you live in Las Vegas. These are big problems for our communities, and we need providers to help with that. And it's a great profession. There's a lot of opportunities there. I know there was another question about from Ashlyn. I'm currently working towards reaching my AA, my Associate of Arts, not AS. And ours is an AAS, which is an Associates of Applied Science. How hard are we to switch to get an AS in high school? I think HS is, or Human Services. So all you have to do is call admissions or go online and log into MyGBC and change your major. That's all you got to do. The credit requirements are usually the same. So the difference is that your declared major is human services. We don't have an AA in human services. We have an AAS, and maybe there might be some confusion there, but we don't offer any other types of degree programs in human services except for applied science programs. And then we have the certificates, of course. My dream is to become a drug and alcohol counselor. You're in the right place. I hope you fulfill that dream. It's an important profession that we need a lot of folks who are really passionate and interested in that. So what I've thrown up here are some opportunities for people who graduate from our program. There's a lot of different job titles here. This comes from the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and so they compile data and information on professions and job titles and work categories, and then pair them with specific types of work experience, education, degrees, training, and things like that. And this is their list. So I got it from the folks who make who do that kind of data compilation. What I'd like to talk about before we run out of time is the difference between human service opportunities with a degree and without a degree. So we'll start first without a degree. And So you can see the median pay in 2019 was $35K or almost $17 an hour. This is somebody that just comes in, works at a nonprofit, let's say substance abuse counseling agency. It shows the number of jobs, the growth. And so this is 17% faster than average. So average growth is probably about, I would say 8 to 10% for jobs in general. And this is 70% faster. This is just in this. So this is, if you have a degree, you see the pay more than doubles. You're starting out at 67K, or the median pay, that's the median, that's average. And then the median per hour is about $32. This is with a bachelor's degree, less than 5 years experience, number of jobs available, same thing, 17% faster than average. So lots of opportunities there. Get the degree, be able to choose the kind of work that you do rather than take the job that people are willing to give you if they decide they deem you worthy. So this degree program is not only accredited regionally, our college, but we're nationally accredited in human services. We just put in our final report, which I've been working on for 18 months, to be reaccredited with the National Organization of Human Services. And what that does, it ensures that we are providing an education that has value, that the quality of the program that we say. And so what happens is the accrediting body says, let me see what you're doing in your program. Let me see the courses. Let me see how you're teaching them. Let me see how you're assessing your students. Let me see how you're assessing your faculty. How much money does the college have set aside for this program? Do they have enough to keep it running? All these things matter, and they happen on the back end for students like you, because it makes us stay responsible to what we say. It's not just a program that doesn't have any meat behind it. It's been vetted, and that's really important. That's one of the reasons people like to see accredited programs, and this one is specifically accredited. It's the only human services program in Nevada that is accredited, and I've taught at 3 different ones in Nevada, so I know this is the only one that's accredited for sure.
And that also provides for the students, Oscar, the assurance that they are learning what they need to know in order to go in practice. So it is absolutely as Oscar was mentioning a few minutes ago, the crafting of this program will allow you to immediately put your skills into practice while meeting the standards and requirements of care for all the different governing bodies that track us down. So the Substance Abuse Board will actually will take in consideration what you have studied, reducing the number of hours you need for of service and practice, just because the program is crafted and tailored to meet the standards. So you are indeed receiving a quality program, and the national recognition validates that.
Okay, another couple questions. Emily asked, should I follow both class lists? Only if you're a double major. If you're majoring in human services and social work, talk to your advisor. If you're a human services major, if you've majored in it, you're declared major, I'm your advisor. If you're in social work, that would be Laura Debenham. Richard Morris mentioned Vitality. Thank you for that. Vitality is an agency, I think, up in Elko, and I've heard of them. And we've had folks serve at practicum sites there, or as a practicum there. So don't forget, when you come to, I know practicum sounds very confusing because that's why we have a whole orientation dedicated to it. So don't worry about that. I'm going to answer all those questions, and we're going to give you more information than you even asked for. One of the things that we do, we have a list compiled of all the sites we're affiliated with in Nevada, actually nationally, because we're affiliated with a lot of sites in other states. Some in Louisiana, some in New York, some in Idaho. I think we had some folks in Hawaii. So it's pretty cool. It's so neat to see that our program is expanding beyond the borders of Nevada, and I'm very proud of that. And it speaks to the quality of our program. It's nationally recognized. It's also affordable, and I'm sure you all know that. and a lot of folks are interested. It's online, so there's flexibility, but the content of the coursework is meaningful. It isn't busy work. I know in Gerardo's class 102, it's a very important class, counseling skills. That's the basis of a lot of what you're going to do. It's very important. Well, we touch on it at different times. We touch on it through ethics. We touch on it in practicum. We touch on it in practicum 2 and in group counseling. So in 104. So
Rachel is asking, what are the limitations between between certificates and associates?
Well,
I guess
go ahead.
advancing to, I think we are advancing to that in the next slide, right?
Well, a little bit. We're going to get down to the Certificate of Achievement in Human Services, the Certificate of Achievement in Substance Abuse Counseling. So these are 30 credit or 32 credit certificates that kind of give you enough training to get your foot into the door. So if you want to work at a place like Vitality, thanks for that again, or let's say you wanted to work at Shade Tree Shelter that we have down in Southern Nevada, or you wanted to work at the Salvation Army in a paid position, you could get an entry-level position there. You would command a higher salary than somebody who was just coming out of high school, but you would be limited in the kinds of services you're able to provide. If you had the associates, you could be eligible for administrative positions, supervisor positions, depending upon how the organization is structured. And still further, if you wanted to do direct services as a licensed provider, because there are providers that are not licensed, and they will do different things like training, case management, case monitoring, lots of different tasks that are not direct clinical services. The clinical services professionals have to have licenses to practice in there. And so the difference, I would say, especially in the human services field, would be you couldn't obtain a substance abuse counseling internship license if you only had the certificate, but you could with the associates. And I hope that helps. So more education, more opportunities, a wider range of job functions that you're eligible for. So the next program we have is the Associates of Applied Science. And keep in mind, our practicum courses are worth 5 credits. One reason that is because you're doing coursework plus your 10 to 12 hours a week of practicum or hours, right? So we offer more credits for that. The next tier of programs that we offer is the bachelor's program. So you want to think of the associates as your freshman, sophomore experience at college, and the bachelor's at human services as the junior, senior year, the 64 credits, 4 semesters, and you'll also have to do an advanced practicum there too. Now, it might seem like this is a lot of practicum, but if you want to be in the field, you want that experience. You don't want to go into it without it, trust me. I was in my master's program before I got to see real clients, and it was kind of a shock, and I was thinking, why didn't I get exposed to this sooner? So that's an opportunity that we have for you all in our programs, and I think it's one that serves you well. Keep in mind that to complete the program, students will need a 2.5 GPA in all core program course requirements. You got to get a B or better. Okay, you got to, C's and D's are not going to work in our program, and each program has their course requirements. Take a look at your program course requirements. The last thing that I want to mention is our post-baccalaureate certificate. These are folks who already have a bachelor's degree from another institution or a master's degree, and they decide they want to become a substance abuse counselor, but they don't have enough training or experience. These 25 credits will focus on substance abuse counseling and will give them the opportunity to apply for a license in the state of Nevada. Okay.
There is one question. Can you get the certificate and the associates, or just one?
Yeah, some folks will apply to this when they graduate. They're like, well, I might as well get the certificate and the. What I see a lot of is a lot of folks get the associates in human services and then the certificate in substance abuse counseling. But well, by default, what will happen is, let me go back to the certificates really lead you to the associates, and the associates lead you to the bachelor's. Okay, and then that bachelor will prepare you for master's level work too. So if you decide, well, I got the certificate, all those credits, all 32 credits will count towards the associate. So now you've only got like 29 credits left for the associates. If if you do the substitute certificate, I think it's like 27 credits will apply towards the associates. So you can get it on the way. And a lot of folks do that. And then this 61 credits is part of the total 125 that you need to have your bachelor's. So upper division classes you'll take in what we would consider year 3 and 4, those 64 credits, those 4 semesters, you'll get a grand total of 61 credits from your associates and 64 credits from your bachelor's. Okay, hopefully that. If we missed anybody or I didn't mention you, please don't take it personally. I'm sorry. This thing is scrolling so fast. I'm sorry. It's trying to hard to keep up. But if I didn't answer your question, ask it again. Okay. So what is faculty advising? One, you develop a working relationship with a professional that's seasoned in the field and can help guide you. We want to address any concerns you have with your program, with the college. Help plan out your courses if you're having difficulty doing that. Prepare for the practicum experience, which we're doing now, and we're going to have a practicum orientation, as I said, on November 4th at 5:30 to 7, and you'll get a link for that. Preparing you for graduation, keep you on track, and helping you achieve your education, career, and personal goals through the full range of services the Institute offers and opportunities in the community. So Gerardo and I spent a lot of time working in the field here. We know a lot of people. With his education and training and background as a school counselor, I'm sure he can provide a plethora of knowledge, information to further your education and training, because that's kind of what they do. I know a lot of you folks are just out of high school. Some are in high school, which is awesome. I've never been prouder to see folks 18 years old graduate from our programs with an associate's degree. I think it's an amazing opportunity. You get to kind of do that dual credit enrollment and have your high school pay for your college courses. That's another great advantage. So things to remember: not all courses are offered every semester, which I mentioned. So make sure you follow the recommended semester schedule. You can deviate from that. Somebody said, was I supposed to take 6 classes? Well, I don't know. Did you take English 101? Did you test out of it? It depends. So if you're not sure, or after you've looked at the degrees, the suggested course schedule, if you need some clarification, give me a call or email me, and I'll walk you through it. But that might be the case. It might not. Courses you can test out of depend upon, those are English and math, based on placement tests. So when you take your placement test, they will place you into a relevant for the level of preparation you're ready for.
And within the human service programs, we don't utilize tests to test out of any class.
Yeah,
so
that's just going to be in the gen ed classes, like, or if you transfer credits from another institution, like another college, maybe you did a year, at a community college in California, you can transfer those credits too. Practicum experience is required for graduation. We have tools for monitoring your progress, and that's like my GBC, the course, the program course suggestion, and we have a few worksheets that you can use to track your courses. It's not rocket science, but it's confusing sometimes. So if you need clarification, let me know. You take this classes this semester, you take these classes that, and then you keep going down the line, and then you graduate. But if you have questions like, well, I had this other course, or I tested out of Math 101, okay, well then there's exceptions, and there's usually a path there. But if you're not sure, that's why advising exists, and that's what part of our job function is, to advise students. So meet with your advisor at least once a year. It's good practice. I'm available. If you called me, I try to get back to you as soon as possible, at least that day. If not, if you call me on the weekend or email me on the weekend or text me on the weekend, I will not get back to you until Monday. If it's after hours, I won't get back to you until the next work day. So just keep those things in mind. If it's a holiday, forget about it. So what happens is students, you'll have free time, like you'll be off on Thanksgiving and you're like, oh, it's Saturday. I remembered I wanted to ask this question. Well, I'm off, so I'm not going to get back to you until. It's good practice to have healthy boundaries around your personal life and your professional life. So I try to practice those, teach my students that, because if you don't, you're always working and then you're going to hate your job. I like my job, but I put healthy boundaries around it. Gerardo and I are on the same page there. We want to be happy. We want to enjoy our jobs. We want to do a good job, but within limits, within what we're capable of.
And just adding to that, Oscar, do reach out. You are not alone. If you get confused, text us, email us. We are available to support your progress and to help you. Even if it is a question about what is this class about, email us, call us. It is part of what we do. This is what we are here for, to support your progress and your success in the program, and of course, in general, in your education. So outreach always.
Yeah, so I'm here. I'm just back reading through a lot of the comments. A big desire to help people that's of interest to them. Being able to put yourself in others' shoes. Yeah, these experiences drive our passion for the field, and they give us opportunities to take what happened to us or to somebody else and transform that into something really positive, and using that to help people, rather than, because there's a lot of people that don't want to do this work. They'll say, I don't want to work with that kind of people. Well, if they don't, who's going to? So I'm really excited to see, and in my your posts and everything, and I do read them, and they're very inspiring. Sometimes I'm grading and I'm just like, I love hearing from you guys. I love hearing your thoughts about it. I love hearing that enthusiasm, that drive, that passion, the things that led you here. And I know you're in the right place. This is the program for you. If you were in a business program or a manufacturing, you'd be bored senseless. Where a lot of those folks will change majors because they're like, this isn't for me. But it's great that we're all surrounded by people who have that like interest too, and that makes it a little bit more interesting to go through. The other part of open advising is I want you guys to get to know my face, talk to me, talk to Gerardo, feel that we're approachable, that you can call us. A lot of times students will say, I'm sorry to bother you. You're not bothering me. This is my job. This is what I'm paid to do, and I like to do it. I like to interact with students. I enjoy taking the opportunity to meet you. So don't feel like you're a burden to me. It's my responsibility to help you through your program, and I take that really seriously. And I want to be able to be there for you, so when you get done with this program, you feel like I was taken care of, my needs were addressed, and I had to do the work, because you can't get it through without it. But I'll tell you what, I graduated from my 4-year program. And my associate's program and my master's, and I didn't really feel like I could talk to any of my professors. So what they taught me was it's really important to engage students. It's an online program, but that doesn't mean we can't be accessible. Right now, both Gerardo and I have our cell phones right here. So you can call or text us, for appropriate things regarding school. Please don't. We're not your friends. We're your professors and your advisors, and we're glad to help in those areas. And a lot of professors have told me, I don't ever put my cell phone. I'm like, I've never had a problem with a student at all. And that speaks to the quality of the folks that are attending our programs and their interest. They're there for the right reasons. And it gives me a great pleasure to know that. We're different. Human services folks are different. They look at the world different. They're more compassionate. They're interested in solving problems that society has. They're interested in doing the work. They know that if nobody does it, things are just going to stay the same. And there's a healing aspect. Sometimes doing this work heals you in ways that maybe you didn't expect, or maybe you already do know, and there's an opportunity to give back. So we can go from there. With that, I'll open it up to some questions or comments that you'd like to make. Feel free to type away, and we'll try to keep up as best we can. So Natalie's asking, are either of the classes going to include professional instruction or just going to continue autonomously with books? There are some recorded lectures. We also, if you're new, Natalie, I don't know if this is your first year, we have human services symposiums. And those symposiums are live lectures, and we have 2 a semester. Actually, Gerardo and I will probably be hosting those. So we're going to have kind of a broad topic. I think I'm going to do trauma interventions and counseling. Gerardo's still thinking about his. I haven't. If you guys remember, if any of you were here last year, probably not, because a lot of new students. Gerardo was a guest speaker at our symposiums. And so that's another opportunity for us to have live lecture. If there's something specific that you'd like to see, reach out to me, let me know. We can put together either a live lecture, asynchronous or asynchronous. The reason we do mostly online curriculum is because that's the program that we market to, where folks can take the courses in the time they want. If they want an in-person program, that's different, or if they want a synchronous program, that's different too. So Emily said, I'm a great teacher. I love your class. I'm really grateful to hear that. Yes, horror stories. I've heard horror stories from my peers too. I've had to deal with horror stories from professors because they don't just take our classes. They take business courses, they take biology courses, they take, psychology. And so we have to contend with those. We really try to do a good job, a quality job. The biggest complaint I hear students is say, I email and I never heard anything. Now, I will say that I've done that too. I've missed an email or forgotten. Email me again. It's okay. Call me.
And I want to add, Oscar, that guys, remember that this system, we are always evolving. So if you have a need, part of what we are also trying to train you is to be able to communicate those needs, because you will work with individuals in which you will need to teach them how to ask for that or how to, request. Don't be afraid. Send us an email and say, I think those are a couple of things that I would like to see in the class. Oscar and I are always working in getting the program better and better, but your input is extremely important. We can only see so far, but when we have multiple perspectives from each of the students, we can actually visualize the program even, further and beyond what we can by ourselves. So feel free, do send an email. Just wanted to emphasize that Oscar and I are always constantly working in developing more ways of sustaining your learning process and your practice as well. So be assured that we do work on that.
Yeah, so Gerardo and I will spend hours just talking about different ways we can improve the program. Like, I want to do this next semester. I want to try that. I want to change the book. I want to add this lecture. I want to do a video presentation, or I want to do a live lecture for this class because it's really important. We're always, and it's really nice to have Gerardo to be able to bounce ideas off of, to help me develop the program, to see areas that I have neglected or have not developed fully where we could improve. And so it's been a great opportunity. And I want to point out that the President Helens, and my dean, Amber Dinelli, added a faculty member in the middle of a crisis, this COVID crisis, which has generated a budget crisis with the state of Nevada, and has cut the college's budget. All colleges, all universities in Nevada have been cut as a result, but they pushed this faculty position through. They said, it's important, your program's growing, you need the support. We believe in the program, we believe in your students, we believe in the mission. And I asked so many times, like a dozen times, I said, are we gonna fill that position? Because I don't wanna hire somebody and then next year not have them. They're like, no, that funding is guaranteed. It's protected. It's what they call a faculty line. It's a budget item and it's a tenured position, which means it's not temporary. It's a permanent position. And so I felt really confident about offering Gerardo the position that would be there, and also that I'd be able to plan for the future growth and development of our program. So there's so many things happening. President Joyce, she knows me personally. She always asks about our program. She knows how important it is. She knows that it's the only program that directly supports substance abuse counseling in the state of Nevada. She went and asked for this funding specifically from the chancellor's office. She had to make a special request to ensure, because they were telling everybody, send us your cuts. And instead she sent her Christmas list. And guess what? They filled every one of the positions she asked for. So the last thing before I go, this is an assignment in your class in HMS 101 and 102. All you have to do is put the passcode I'm going to give you right now. Let's see. I guess because it's Halloween's coming, pumpkin will be the password, and you'll just put that in there 3 times, and you submit that, and we'll go ahead and give you the grade for attending. If your classmates weren't able to come, don't worry. I'm recording this live, and I'll upload it to YouTube, and we'll put the link in that assignment, and then they can watch it. They get to this part, they see the passcode, and they said I could have fast forwarded it, so don't tell them so they don't cheat. And so remember, the passcode is pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin 3 times. Put that into your assignment, submit it, and you get the grade for coming today. I hope this was, is it a grade for CPD? I don't think so, Emily. I don't think I made it a requirement. Just because we have so many students from different programs in there, I only made an assignment for 101 and 102. I don't give extra credit, just so you know. Any further questions, comments that you might have? Okay, Aaron asked about the password. I just gave it. The password is pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin 3 times. And okay, so I saw somebody said, thank you for mentioning that you're not bothering us. Yeah, I'm glad. I don't know why that always comes up. I don't think either of us are unapproachable or mean, or I really spend the time when I'm talking to students to get to know them a little bit, to connect with them, because I used to teach at UNLV for 5 years, and I taught at Nevada State College for 7 years. I've taught at Reno, UNR. I've taught for the UNR Cooperative. I've taught at lots of different places in Nevada. And I miss that student interaction, that live lecture. But students really don't run a 3-hour lecture. They only retain about 20% of the information that we provide. So what I've learned is that although online education, you lose something, you gain a lot more in terms of being well prepared and trained. And then we add these meetings as a human component. So we can connect, not with expectation, not with test taking, but just to be with each other, really share information, experiences, things like that, and develop that human side, which is so important, because it's not all about tests and stats and things like that. It's important that we know how to connect with one another, because that's the most important skill you can bring to the human services profession is yourself. Rachel asked, do you submit 101 and 102? Yes, if it's an assignment in both, submit it for both. Otherwise, you won't get credit in one of the classes. You got to do both. Gerardo teaches 102, I teach 101, so we don't even know, who's submitting what.
If you cannot see the activity right now, do not panic. I will get into and activate it. I probably haven't activated yet.
Yeah, so there'll be a submissions button, and you'll have a little window where you can type in there. Some people write me little notes. They put the password in there. So however, in my 101 course, I think I activated the assignment. But are there any summer courses available? Currently, no, but that might change as our program grows. What you can take are non-human services courses that are that are required. So something like English, math, psychology is offered in the summer. Biology is offered in the summer. Sociology, information systems. So if you wanted to kind of get a jump on some of those classes, you could do that. HDFX, which is human development and family something. Human development and family life cycle. Yeah, that might be offered in the summer. So we don't currently offer summer classes, but that will probably change. The main reason is because I'm muted so it doesn't give me an option to ask questions. Hi, Chloe. Okay, Chloe just texted me. What's your question, Chloe? You can text me here or you can type it in the chat window. You can also raise your hand if you look. Now, Chloe might be on the phone. That might be another issue. There are some folks on the phone, so they can't chat directly. Yeah, she's on the phone. Okay, I just figured it out. Yeah. So yeah, there's also winter sessions too. So Chloe said she got the answer. Okay, great. So yeah, check the summer schedule, check the winter break schedule, and sometimes you can kind of get those classes out of the way. I'll tell you, how can I go about double majoring or minoring for social work? That might not be a good idea, but if you really want to do that, you'd probably have to talk to admissions and ask them. This is Chloe asking the question. So what I would suggest, if you want to do social work, do social work. If you want to do human services, do human services. If you try to do both, you're going to run out of time. And this is an associate's program, and that time might be better spent focusing on a bachelor's program or a master's program, because that's your ultimate goal in social work, to be an LCSW usually. It just depends how far you want to go. There are BA, Bachelor of Science in Social Works too, and they have a license in Nevada at the bachelor's level. It's non-clinical. It's more administrative, but it does exist. I don't know too much about social work, I will be honest. I'm more on the counseling side, human services. So if you want to be a drug counselor, then this is the program for you. Our bachelor's program is the program for you. If you do a master's in social work, you're going to get maybe one class in substance abuse counseling. Our bachelor's has like 6. So it's focused on substance abuse counseling. Parents do both, but that's why I was curious, but I want to be a drug. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So hopefully I answered that. 3-in-1 program for social work. So they do 3 years here at GBC. You do your final year at UNR. I think Laura actually teaches that final 4th year over at UNR currently. So yeah, that's a different kind of program. It was before we had bachelor's programs at Great Basin College. So that's an option too. Again, I'm not a social worker, and you want to talk to Laura Debenham at most of those things, because that's her area. Any more questions? Wow, it's been a whirlwind. I feel like I've just been talking nonstop, and hopefully I was able to give you the information that you needed for advising, give you some more information that might be helpful to you as a human services major. But if I've forgotten anything or you still have questions, contact us. We'll be glad to answer any questions you have. With that, so what did, Emily's asking, is it Emily? Chloe. Chloe's asking about what kind of activities you do in practicum. It depends upon the agency you work for. So if you work for, let's say, a substance abuse counseling agency like WestCare, and I know they have one in Pahrump. I don't know if they have one in Elko. We have one in Las Vegas also. You might be doing intake work. You might be doing needs assessments. You might be doing psychosocial education training. You might case management. There's a lot of different opportunities. It really depends upon the agency you work for and what kind of services they provide to clients. So what you'll do is one of those tasks. Now the requirement is that they're working with people. You can't sit in the back room and just compile data. You've got to be developing your skills as a human services professional. That's the whole reason behind practicum. So some sites are inappropriate for human services practicum. Most sites are usually, if it has a mission where they have a human services programs that serve the community in some form or fashion, they're usually okay. But if you're not sure, just check with me. I hope that answered your question, Chloe. So could you do your practicum in a high school? In a high school. It's kind of confusing because some people are actually in high school. Yes, so a lot of our students will do their practicum with the school counselor. They'll shadow the school counselor. They'll meet with students. They'll maybe Gerardo can speak to this because he was a school counselor, and he still is a licensed nationally school counselor.
Yes, indeed. You can actually. It really depends on the need of the school. It is a two-step deal. You have to actually approach the district, get fingerprinted, and all that. And then if you know a school, then you can talk to the principal directly or the school counselors in that is a specific school. So to see what the need of the school is. You may be needed to work with, for example, in the special ed classes to support the learning process of the students. You may be needed in the counseling office actually to do projects such as planning for testing, organization events, academic planning, career advising, whatever it is that the needs are, it will depend on the school side. So if your goal is actually to get your feet wet and what is the work that we do as school counselors, it will be probably a good idea to do your practicum there. There was another question about case management. Case management, Giselle, is precisely that. Depending on what you are, case management for hospital people will mean actually managing the health, contacting providers, helping the individuals to set up appointments, taking the individuals to the appointment. If you're working in a mental health area, for example, you will be advocating for your clients, for example, in front of a psychiatrist. You will be attending the meeting with the psychiatrist to see, for example, what medication they are taking. You will probably be called to go and do home checking. Depending on what the facility you are working in, the case management will signify different things. But in general, that is what it is. You manage an individual needs by supporting, helping, removing barriers, accessing health care, accessing indeed human resources such as Medicaid, food stamps. So all that will be part of case management. So I hope I answered those questions.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of questions and a lot of trepidation about, oh my God, how am I going to get in a practicum site? Guess what? Agencies love practicum students. You're providing them with an educated workforce that they don't have to pay. Your practicum experience, you get paid with experience, so they're giving you that. The other thing is when you graduate, you've worked at a site for 2 semesters. That could be 2 different sites, and you have that to put in your resume, where a lot of graduates from an associate's or even a bachelor's program have no work experience. And so you can command a higher salary. You've got a specific skill set working with a specific population within a specific agency. So don't worry about, nobody's told me I can't find a practicum site. Nobody says that because it never happens. Now, sometimes there might be an issue. The supervisor left the agency and you got to find another one, something like that. But nobody's ever told me, because nobody says, you want to come help us with our mission and we don't have to pay you? Yeah, please come. We would love to help train you. And here's the other thing. the folks that work at human services organizations and agencies have had to do a practicum. So they love to take our students under their wing and show them what they need to know because they work in the field and they went through the same experience to get there. Jesse's asking about opportunities surrounding working with young kids. You might see that in schools. You might see that with after-school programs, tutoring programs, anything where you work with people and you need skills to help improve people's lives, help them incorporate change, access services, any kind of things like that would be an appropriate site. Now, I know it would be nice if I said, here's the sites, you're going to go work here. But one, you guys are scattered all over the state and sometimes in different states. I don't know what's available there. And you're going to have to pick an agency that's available in your locale, right? So you might say, well, I mean, I got folks in Wendover working at the courthouse or working at the high school and the middle school because they don't have other agencies. So, you know, everybody deserves an access to higher education. Great Basin's mission is to give that, especially to the rural communities. And so you can serve your community and stay there without having to travel outside of the state or move away from friends and family. And so we can do that. But at the same time, sometimes there are limitations to that. We cannot, we can't do everything. So yeah, Giselle says it's hard to just pick one. Well, that's why you have 2 semesters. And you can choose 2 different sites, one at one semester, one the next semester. If you do Baroness, I made a shout out to Wendover. And if you go into the bachelor's program, you have to do 2 more practicums over 2 semesters. So you can just pick those as you progress through your practicum courses. If you do an associate's, you'll take 2 practicum courses. If you do a bachelor's in our program, you'll take 4. So you'll have opportunities to pick more than just one site. I'm answering Chloe's right now. Now, I want you guys to think about how this would not have been possible if we just did it live in a lecture hall. We could have either been in Elko or we could have been in Pahrump. We could have used IAV, but everybody knows IAV looks terrible. So I prefer Zoom meetings or Zoom webinars because I feel like it's more user-friendly to me. If you have more questions or you're still confused about where you want to go, call us. Everything doesn't have to be answered today. You're thinking about potential concerns you might have. Write them down. Contact me. We'll address those concerns. No problem. Don't feel lost or confused. We're here to guide you through it. We will guide you through it. Okay. That's what this process is for. This is just advising, an open meeting. We can do individual advising where we'll schedule time to go over any questions you have specifically. Don't forget, we have an entire meeting dedicated just to practicum because there's a lot of paperwork and things and processes and procedures that have to happen. It's not easy, but you know what? College is not easy. And to help people, you have to be willing to go through a lot, to be trained, to have the faculties, the ethics, and the education to be worthy of working with people in a capacity where you provide safe services to people that are very vulnerable. So there's a reason we have professionalized this practice is because people are taken advantage, they're hurt, they don't follow appropriate ethical guidelines and procedures. And this is why, just like there's a reason there's a professional standing army rather than a militia. I'm not trying to get on you gun folks, but there's a reason for that. We want to professionalize these areas of service, because if they're not, then they kind of fall away from standards and best practices. So it's really important. So practicum, Rachel's asking, due to certificate rush graduation, not sure what that means. Do you recommend practicum spring semester or start sooner? Okay, so practicum 1 is 205. That starts in the spring. Practicum 2 is 206. That's in the fall. We only offer it those semesters. That's when you have to take it. So I would say, looking at the recommended course schedule, you want to start in spring. You've taken 101, 102. That's why we offer them in the first semester, because you have to have those prerequisites. I'm trying to get back to the course, this thing. So don't forget to look at this. This is on our website. So yeah, I would say start. You can't start any sooner than spring. Okay, so hopefully that, yeah, I answered that. All right, folks. Any other questions? Thank you. I mean, I really do appreciate all the feedback. I would tell you that I've done these practicums or these open advisings, and I've had like 1 or 2 people. So me and Gerardo decided everybody has to come for credit, so everyone's here. And what's happened is a lot of people have, Selby asked for a list of ideas for practicum. We have this in our program brochure. This will give you a good start. This is on our website. And then I had asked her to take a screenshot of this for these opportunities that are available. And there's another bunch of job titles that for which would be appropriate work sites for practicum. Any other questions, comments? I really appreciate all the positive comments that you've made about our courses. It means the world to me. As an instructor, I'm always trying to make sure. I remember my college experience, and I'm like, I just want this to mean something to them. I want it to prepare them. I don't want it to be busy work. I don't want to turn an assignment in just to turn it in. When I look at an assignment, when I'm developing assignment, I'm thinking, how is this useful? And if it's not, I'll get rid of it. When I'm choosing the textbook, I'm looking at topics that are relevant, that are important, that are meaningful. So I really do appreciate everyone, all the positive comments you've made. And if you got a criticism, call Gerardo. He's the complaint department. No, you can call me.
I do accept that as well. So that's what it is. No, but very, very seriously and emphatically, please outreach us if you have any questions, any doubt, any confusion. Do not stay with it. Share it, and we may be able to clarify that for you.
Yeah.
That's what we do. That's what we are here for. And remember that your success is our success. So we do want to support you all the way through until you successfully complete your program.
Yep. Great. Yeah. Giselle likes torture. So that is a good book. That 101 book is good.
Actually, Giselle, that's the book in the field.
Okay, folks. Well, we're getting some great comments in here. This is really fun. I think if this was live, a lot of you might not make these comments or ask these questions, but from the safety of our device, we can ask questions, and I like that. And you feel emboldened, empowered to speak up, because we need to know what you need to know. Like, the best way to teach, the best model of pedagogy is to ask questions, because wisdom and information is of such magnitude, we can't not possibly know what to teach you, but you can tell us, this is what I need to know, and then we can speak to that point. That's why lecture can be useful, but what we spend so much time doing is speaking at you, not hearing from you. So Great. Yeah. So all I ask for all my students, just as I ask for myself, is to do your best. And the work that I've seen so far is impressive. The level of academia and scholarship that most of you, almost 99% of you do, is really outstanding. And it really makes me proud to be your professor and to work at Great Basin College. So keep it up. It will serve you. It will open many doors for you along the road of your career and your life. And it's a great experience. So I'm so grateful to hear from you all, and thank you for all the positive comments. If there are no more questions, we'll adjourn the meeting for this evening and look forward to our practicum orientation on November 4th. Our first symposium is coming up this month, October 21st. Don't forget that. That'll be interesting. And that will be a live lecture for about an hour and a half over Zoom. Somebody showed up in Pahrump today. I wasn't there. And then we've got our second symposium November 18th, and you'll be getting information there. We've sent announcements out, but we'll remind you too.
Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure. And once again, please outreach if you need us. I will see you in the following ones.
Great. Have a good night, everyone.